Where the Children Play by Robert B. Warren. Chapter 1. Years later. On a lonely highway that cut through the West Alabama countryside, Alexander Lex Morgan sat in the passenger seat of an old pea-green station wagon. Luggage filled the back seat and trunk. Half asleep, he watched the sunlit hills, forests, and farmland pass him by. For some reason, the isolation relaxed him. That, and the smooth jazz drifting from the radio. His mother, Trish, had picked the station. She sat at the wheel, in a white short-sleeved blouse and jeans. Thick black curls framed large brown eyes, dimples, and a mouth that appeared to be on the verge of smiling. Some said that she and Lex could have passed as twins. He supposed that was a good thing, since people often complimented her looks. "Look," Mother said, "over there." Lex glanced at the roadside. A deer stood before a small stretch of woodland, fidgeting in place, as though contemplating whether to cross the street or not. Lex had seen deer before, but never in real life. It was even bigger than he imagined, flaunting antlers so large you could hang Christmas ornaments from them. Weariness forgotten, he leaned forward, straining his eyes to capture every detail. "Pretty, isn't it?" Mother said. "There are all kinds of critters in these parts. If we're lucky, we might even see a Sasquatch or two." "There's no such thing as a Sasquatch," Lex chuckled. "Oh yeah? How do you know?" Lex opened his mouth, only to realize he had no answer. "Just as I thought," Mother said. "Remember, Pumpkin, just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not real. Except when it comes to Sasquatches." She winked at him. Further ahead was a gateway sign. Atop its peeling, cream-colored facade, faded crimson letters read, "Welcome to Red Grove, the South's greatest success story." Excited butterflies hatched in Lex's stomach. "We're here," he cheered. "Sure are," Mother said. "Let's hope it's everything we dreamed of." Buildings materialized on the horizon. At first, they resembled little more than a scattering of children's blocks. But as the station wagon drew closer, the town's true form began to take shape. Mother coasted down the main thoroughfare. Lex glanced from side to side, taking in the sights. Red Grove seemed to be the ideal small southern town, with its cobbled roads, French and Spanish-inspired architecture, and manicured shrubbery. There was no litter or graffiti to be seen. Locals in modest attire trickled in and out of shops, piloted old-timey cars and bicycles, and dined on restaurant patios. Most smiled and waved. Lex and his mother returned the courtesy. "Nice folks," Mother said. "Things are already off to a good start." "When can we go exploring?" Lex asked. "Tomorrow, bright and early, once we've had a chance to settle into the new house." Mother stopped at the town bank. Fashioned from red brick, the two-story building sat near a four-way intersection, sandwiched between a butcher shop and a bakery. Inside, employees and customers alike greeted them with warm smiles. Mother filled out a stack of paperwork, then received a safe deposit box containing 3 keys and various legal documents. Before leaving, Lex received a cherry sucker from a female teller. He popped it into his mouth without delay. Outside, he and his mother ran into a policeman. He had a round, jolly face and an even rounder belly. His white mustache was so thick it could have doubled as a furniture duster. If he had a matching beard, he would have made a perfect Santa Claus. "Afternoon," he said. "I haven't seen you around here before. You must be from out of town." "And you must be psychic," Mother joked. "We came here from Atlanta. We only just arrived. But this place has already made quite the impression. It's beautiful." "Well, thank you, ma'am. Everyone pitches in to keep things all nice and pretty. The name's Barclay, Ted Barclay. I'm the sheriff around here." Mother shook his hand. "Trish Morgan, and this is my son Alexander, Lex for short." "Son?" Barclay said with disbelief too exaggerated to be genuine. "And here I thought you two were brother and sister." Mother smiled at the compliment. Lex felt embarrassed for some reason. "Nice to meet you, young man," Barclay said, extending his hand. Lex shook it. The sheriff's palm was roughly the size of a catcher's mitt. and as coarse as sandpaper. Lex remembered his father having similar hands, the hands of a working man. He pushed the thought from his mind. "So," Barclay said, "what brings you to our little hamlet?" "Lex and I needed a change of scenery," Mother replied. "We're hoping to make Red Grove our new home, and maybe discover our roots. My great-grandpa used to live here, Augustus Morgan." "Old Augustus?" Barclay said thoughtfully. "You've heard of him?" "Me and everyone in Red Grove. He helped build this town. He died before I was born, his wife too, but my daddy and granddaddy used to talk about them all the same. Said that Augustus and Elsa were some of the nicest, most generous people they had ever known. I did, however, meet their son, Nathaniel. Good man, real patriotic. Left to join the army at 18. Came back a few years later when his folks died. After the funeral, he left again and stayed gone. I always wondered what happened to him. Seeing the two of you, I'm guessing he did just fine." "Nice to know my family was so well liked," Mother said. "It makes me wish I could have met them all the more. Maybe living here will give me and Lex some insight into who they were." "I imagine it will. You two have a place to stay?" "My great-grandparents' house," Mother said. "Grandpa Nate left it to my dad, but Dad wasn't a fan of country living." She placed her hand on Lex's shoulder. "We, on the other hand, love the idea. Isn't that right, Pumpkin?" Lex nodded enthusiastically. "You sound like my kind of people." Barclay checked his watch. "Well, I'd best get going. This town isn't going to police itself. It was a pleasure meeting you both. Red Grove is happy to have you." "We're happy to be here," Mother said. As she and Lex continued on their way, Barclay called after them. "One more thing," he said. You might want to stay out of the neighboring woods, especially at night. Plenty of dangerous things lurking about." "Thanks for the warning," Mother said. "The last thing we want is to get eaten by wild animals." "My pleasure," Barclay said. "You all take care now." Lex and his mother returned to the car. They fueled up at the local gas station, then set out for the Morgan house. It stood on the eastern edge of town, accessible by 10 miles of secluded highway. On the right, past a rusted guardrail, was a stretch of dense wilderness. Road signs popped up here and there, prohibiting camping and fishing and warning of dangerous animals. Lex reasoned that these woods were the ones Barclay had mentioned. "Maybe we are in Sasquatch country after all," Mother commented. "Again with the Sasquatches," Lex sighed. "You believe in ghosts, but not Bigfoot? How does that work?" "There are pictures of ghosts, thousands of them, from all over the world. At least one has to be real. The only thing Bigfoot has is a grainy video of some guy in a monkey suit." Mother grinned. "Whatever you say, Pumpkin." Prior to moving, Lex did some research on Red Grove, so he would know exactly what to expect. The public library had very little information on the town. The best he could find had been a book about the most haunted towns in the southeastern United States. Red Grove ranked in the top 50. Upon learning of this, Lex could barely contain his enthusiasm. For as long as he could remember, he had an interest in horror. He loved scary movies, but he loved scary novels even more. So much so that he hoped to one day write his own novel, a chilling ghost tale that would keep both children and adults up at night. Red Grove presented the perfect opportunity to study the supernatural up close, so long as the spirits were friendly. Mother turned left onto a side road that gradually deteriorated to gravel the further she drove. It ended at a circular lot. She parked and cut the engine. Lex gasped in exhilaration. Mother gave a low whistle. "Is this it?" Lex asked. "This is it," Mother said. They exited the car. The house across from them rose 3 stories, with a wraparound porch, twin chimneys, and lots of windows. Despite its peeling white paint and handful of broken slats, the wood shingle exteriors had held up well over the decades. Nearby, a shed contained a battered gas generator and piles of rusty tools and car parts. "I didn't think it would be so big," Lex said. A far cry from our old place, Mother said. Let's go check it out. Lex entered the house. He might as well have stepped back in time. Everything lay under a blanket of dust. Spiderwebs clung to the corners and crevices, and mildew soured the hot air. The kitchen contained a wood-burning stove, a heavy oak table, and a walk-in pantry. The living room featured hardwood floors, a wrought iron chandelier, and a stone fireplace. Black and white photographs lined the mantel, displaying an older black couple and a young boy. Lex assumed them to be his deceased relatives. Comparing their faces to his own, he could see the resemblance. Several paintings decorated the walls, all bearing the signature, Elsa Morgan. Great-great-grandma had talent. Most of the paintings were of landscapes, forests, and mountains. One, however, depicted a mansion bathed in sunlight. Past the tiered fountain and topiaries, the house boasted brick construction, double doors, and a front-facing balcony supported by 4 Roman columns. The bronze plaque on the bottom of the picture frame read, "The Old House." Lex concluded that the mansion once belonged to his family. But what happened to it? What could have compelled them to leave such a lavish home? He would probably never know. I am not looking forward to dusting this place, Mother said, unless a certain someone wants to lend a hand, hint, hint. Lex pretended not to hear her and ventured upstairs. The second floor had 3 bedrooms, each with a full bath. The attic took up the entire 3rd level, crammed with boxes of old clothes, books, toys, and various other odds and ends. Lex planned to rummage for hidden treasure later. Once all the luggage had been brought inside, he and Mother had dinner at the kitchen table. They ate ham and cheese sandwiches, salads, and sodas from a travel cooler. Sorry, Pumpkin, Mother said. I know this isn't exactly a 5-star meal, but I'll make it up to you tomorrow. You and I are going to have a real dinner. Sound good? Lex forced himself to smile and nod. Though nearly 2 years had passed since his father died of cancer, having dinner without him still felt unnatural and even more upsetting. He remembered watching helplessly as his hero, the kindest, most dependable man he had ever known, shriveled and faded away. He remembered hearing his mother crying in her room at night when she thought he was asleep. He remembered wanting to run away from home, Georgia, from everything that reminded him of what he had lost. So when Mother mentioned relocating to Alabama, he had no objections. Perhaps she too was running. After dinner, Lex slipped on his pajamas and got ready for bed. Mother had claimed the master bedroom. He took the room on the opposite end of the hall. It likely belonged to great-grandpa Nate. Model cars, planes, and tanks lined the shelves. Free weights and sports equipment littered the floor. Lex nearly pulled a muscle trying to lift a 20-pound dumbbell. He replaced the dusty bed sheets with clean linens, then settled on a surprisingly comfortable mattress. He kept a notepad and pencil on the nightstand to record any supernatural activity. Save for rattling pipes and the occasional creak of the house settling, nothing happened. He drifted into a dreamless slumber.